They finally texted you, after all that silence, after the cold distance, after the heartbreak, confusion, and endless nights wondering if they even cared. And now, here it is, a message, out of nowhere. But hold up, before you even think about replying. Don't answer until you hear what I'm about to say. Because that message may not mean what you think it means. It might not be a sign of love, nor a sign of maturity, nor a reflection of real change. In fact, it could be something entirely different, manipulation disguised as curiosity. You see, silence can be louder than words, and when they feel the weight of your absence, when they realize they no longer have access to you, they reach out, not always because they miss you, but because they miss owning your attention. That one message can be a trapdoor back into emotional chaos, a bait to reel you in, just to prove to themselves that you're still available, still waiting, still emotionally tied to them. But you're not here to serve their insecurities. You're not here to be someone's emotional safety net after they pushed you away. That text might say, "I miss you," or "I've been thinking about you." But those words are easy to type. Anyone can press send. What matters now is not what they said, but how you receive it. Because this is your power shift. This is your chance to pause, to observe, to ask yourself, what do I really want? Do I want healing, or do I want closure wrapped in false hope? Not all messages are meant to be answered. Some are just echoes of the past, trying to shake the peace you've built in their absence. And you worked too damn hard for that peace. You climbed out of emotional quicksand. You learned to breathe without them. You cried, journaled, healed, questioned everything. And now, when you're standing in your strength, they come back. Nah, you're not the same person anymore. Your silence wasn't weakness. It was rebirth. It was reclaiming your energy. And now they feel it. That's why they texted. Not because they had a revelation, but because your disconnection became uncomfortable. Don't confuse discomfort for love. Don't mistake reaching out for real effort. Love takes more than a message. It takes accountability, growth, and consistent actions. Until then, you owe no reply. You owe no explanation. You owe yourself the loyalty that they couldn't give you. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose my peace over their confusion, because peace is power. And that message, that unexpected text, it's your moment to either fall back into old patterns or rise into your new standard. So before you answer, listen up. We're about to break down everything. Psychologically, emotionally, and with unshakable Stoic wisdom. Why they texted, what it really means, and the only way to respond if you value your healing more than a recycled connection. Number 1, a text doesn't equal change. It often equals curiosity or control. A text doesn't mean they've changed. It means they remembered you exist. And that's a massive difference. Don't confuse presence for progress. When someone who vanished, hurt you, or walked away suddenly reaches out, your heart might skip. Your mind might rush to connect dots that aren't even there. Maybe they've grown. Maybe they've finally seen your value. But pause right there, because more often than not, that message isn't rooted in growth. It's rooted in curiosity, boredom, or a craving to control the narrative again. They might not miss you. They might miss how you made them feel, the comfort, the access, the ego boost. And now that you've gone silent, now that you've stopped reacting, now they're interested. That's not love. That's control dressed up as concern. That's insecurity searching for a mirror to feel powerful again. Remember, the person who truly changes will not only say it, They'll show it consistently. They won't send vague breadcrumb texts that dodge responsibility. They won't pop in with, "Hey stranger," or "I miss you," like that erases the pain they caused. And yet, many fall into this trap because the mind wants closure and the heart wants meaning. But what if there is no deeper meaning to their message other than the fact that they felt momentarily lonely or curious about your life? What if this isn't a love story being revived, but an ego trying to test if the door is still open? Don't fall for emotional clickbait. A text is not a grand gesture. It's the bare minimum. It takes no real effort to type a few words and hit send. But your response? That carries weight. That has power. So before you respond, question the intent, not just the words. Did they express regret for how they treated you? Did they acknowledge your pain? Did they own their role in the breakdown of the relationship? Or did they just test the waters to see if they still have emotional access to you? Most of the time, they're not offering clarity. They're poking at your peace. And peace is expensive when you've earned it through healing, through sleepless nights, through silence that taught you strength. That message may tempt you to romanticize, to imagine that maybe they've changed. Maybe this time it's different. But don't let nostalgia or a lonely moment rob you of the growth you've earned. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." That text, on its own, isn't proof of change. It's just a trigger. And your job isn't to analyze their motive. It's to protect your energy. Don't make excuses for someone who still hasn't made amends. Don't water down your standards because someone remembered your name when it was convenient. You're not a second thought. You're not a backup plan. You're a whole person who deserves clarity, effort, and truth, not digital breadcrumbs. So before you respond to that message, sit in your worth. Let them prove themselves with actions, not curiosity. Number 2, check-in texts are often just ego traps. Let's call it what it is. A check-in text is not a heartfelt attempt to rebuild trust. It's a ping, a probe, a subtle manipulative tap on the glass to see if your emotions are still within reach. "Hey, just checking in. Hope you're doing okay," or the infamous "I miss you" sent at 2 a.m. These aren't acts of emotional maturity. They're ego-driven attempts to reinsert themselves into your mental space without doing any of the real emotional work. If someone truly valued you, they wouldn't have waited for silence to become unbearable before reaching out. They wouldn't leave you in the dark and then expect your light to still be shining for them on demand. These messages aren't about reconnection, they're about access. They're fishing lines tossed into your peace, baited with just enough sentiment to pull you back into old patterns. And if you respond emotionally, if you light up, get hopeful, or pour your heart out, they win. Because now they know they still have real estate in your mind. But if you take a step back, if you breathe instead of bite, you take that power back. This is your emotional discipline being tested. This is where your response becomes a reflection of your healing. Remember the words of Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You don't control that text, but you do control the meaning you attach to it. You decide whether it rattles your spirit or reminds you of your standards. People who left you in confusion do not deserve immediate access to your clarity. People who broke you do not get to casually test if you're still breakable. Your silence has been golden, and now that it's echoing, they're checking in. But don't let that fool you. Silence doesn't mean you're waiting. It means you're watching. It means you've learned to guard your space like a sanctuary. And only those who knock with sincerity, who come with humility, deserve a response. A vague check-in isn't love, it's ego maintenance. It's someone trying to see if you're still emotionally orbiting them while they continue living without accountability. So, before you respond, ask yourself, am I responding from strength or from the ghost of who I used to be when I needed their approval? And if your answer is power, then let that guide you. Number 3. Emotional silence is their test, but it's also yours. Silence is a mirror. It shows people who they really are when they can no longer control you with words. And when they finally text you after all that time, it's rarely because they've transformed. It's often because your silence became too loud for their ego to handle. You stopped feeding their emotional entitlement. You stopped chasing. And now they want to see if they still matter to you, even just a little. That message isn't always a sign of love. It's often a sign of discomfort. Your absence exposed something they didn't expect, that you're stronger without them than they imagined. But here's where the real test begins, not just for them, but for you. Because when you see that message, a wave of emotions might rise: hope, anger, nostalgia, pain, and you'll feel that urge. The urge to reply quickly. The urge to validate your own worth by proving you're still wanted. But wait. Don't move. Don't let a split-second emotion rob you of the stability you've built in silence. Take your time. Breathe. Journal. Reflect. Ask yourself honestly, why do I feel the need to respond? Is it to reconnect? Or is it because I'm still carrying a piece of myself that needs closure, attention, or validation from the same source that once shattered me? Emotional silence doesn't just test their control, it tests your self-mastery. It reveals whether you've truly healed, or if you're still tethered to the version of yourself who depended on them for emotional survival. Remember what Epictetus said: any person capable of angering you becomes your master. And in that same wisdom, anyone who can disturb your peace with a few casual words on a screen still owns too much of your power. Emotional independence means not letting one text shift your whole day, your whole energy, your entire sense of worth. It means pausing, not out of bitterness, but out of awareness. Because now you choose how to respond. Now you own your reactions. You are no longer emotionally impulsive. You are emotionally intelligent. And in that space between their message and your response lies your entire healing. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to answer quickly to feel valued. You don't even need to reply unless their presence adds something real to your peace. This is your ground now. You stand on it. You protect it. Number 4. Real love comes with real accountability, not breadcrumbs. Let's say they finally texted something sweet, something that almost feels like love. Maybe they said they miss you. Maybe they dropped a memory or gave a subtle compliment that made your heart pause. But here's the truth. Words without weight are just noise. If their message isn't backed by real accountability, if it lacks intention, direction, and change, then it's not a bridge. It's bait. And if you accept that bait, if you let one flattering sentence erase the storm they left you in, you're giving them permission to keep giving you less than you deserve. That kind of message is a breadcrumb. It's not a meal. It's not nourishment. It's not a sign of growth or love. It's a tactic. A breadcrumb is when someone gives you just enough to pull you back emotionally, but never enough to build something secure, whole, or honest. And if you take those breadcrumbs and convince yourself it's a sign of hope, you're starving yourself of real intimacy. Because here's the harsh truth. If you accept crumbs, you're teaching them that they never need to bring more. They'll keep giving the bare minimum, and you'll keep sacrificing your dignity just to feel wanted. That's not love. That's emotional survival. Marcus Aurelius gave us a rule to live by. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. That means you need to look beyond the warmth of their message and ask the harder questions. Is this message right, or is it just well-timed? Is it true, or is it convenient? What are they really saying? More importantly, what are they not saying? Are they addressing how they hurt you? Are they taking full responsibility for their role in your pain? Or are they skipping accountability and jumping straight into, "I miss you," as if your heart is theirs on demand? Words are easy. Apologies are easy. What's hard is change. What's hard is consistency. What's hard is effort sustained beyond one impulsive text. And unless that message comes with evidence of a new mindset, it's not a turning point. It's a loop. One you've already survived once. So don't go back hoping for a better outcome if the ingredients are exactly the same. You've outgrown shallow affection. You've risen above partial love. You're not someone who begs for validation in the form of recycled phrases and half-hearted check-ins. You deserve full presence, full ownership, full commitment. Anything less is emotional poison disguised as comfort. You're done with the emotional diet. You don't starve for connection anymore. You feast on clarity, truth, and self-respect. So when they text you, ask yourself this: am I responding to love, or am I falling for the illusion of it? Let your response be guided by your worth, not your wounds. Number 5, don't just ask what they want. Ask what you want. When they text you, your first instinct is often to overanalyze them. What do they want? Why now? What does this mean? But that line of thinking gives them all the power. It puts your emotional clarity in their hands. And here's the truth. That's not strength. That's reaction. And you've come too far to live in reaction mode. So, shift the question. Turn the spotlight inward. Don't just ask what they want. Ask what you want. Because you've been through hell and came out stronger. You cried. You doubted. You healed in silence. And that healing gave birth to a new version of you. Someone wiser. Someone calmer. Someone who doesn't mistake a sudden message for a second chance. Now that they've texted, pause and ask yourself, does this interaction lead me toward peace, or does it pull me back into uncertainty? Does it serve the new life I'm building, or does it tempt me to revisit a chapter I already closed? Most people never stop to ask that. They let nostalgia or loneliness decide. But not you, not anymore. This is your test of emotional mastery. You are not here to feed off breadcrumbs or re-enter cycles disguised as comfort. You are here to protect the emotional empire you rebuilt after they left. This is where Seneca's wisdom lands deeply. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. If you crave their message more than your mental clarity, if you long for their attention more than your own stability, you are putting yourself in emotional debt. You can't afford to go bankrupt chasing closure, hope, or familiarity. Emotional wealth is found in knowing you don't need anything from the people who couldn't value you before. Not validation, not answers, not even an apology. What you need is alignment. What you need is direction. What you need is to move in the same direction your healing has been pointing you. When they reach out, remember, you are not the version of yourself who waited. You are not the version who begged for scraps. You're not playing their emotional support character anymore. If they want a role in your life now, it needs to be earned with more than timing and words. And even then, it's still your choice. Because you are the author now. You write the next page. You decide what energy enters your life. So, before you type back, breathe. Sit with it. Look at your growth and ask, what do I want? Not from them, but from myself, from my future, from this moment. And if their presence threatens that peace, the answer is simple. Silence is stronger than slipping backward. Number 6. You're not here to prove your worth, you already have it. One of the most tempting traps when they finally text you is the need to explain yourself, to show them you've grown, to let them know you've healed, to prove how much stronger you are now. But that impulse? It comes from a place that still wants to be seen. And you don't need to be seen by the very person who once overlooked you. You don't need to perform strength for someone who once made you question it. The truth is, your worth was never lost. It was just hidden under the noise, the pain, the trying. Now that you've risen, let that worth speak in silence, in boundaries, in peace. That is the loudest message you can send, because explaining yourself is emotional begging in disguise. It's saying, please see me now, when you should be saying, I see myself now. You don't need their recognition to validate your evolution. You don't need to narrate your journey to someone who chose not to walk with you. Marcus Aurelius put it plainly, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That includes not arguing your goodness, your growth, or your strength. Just be it. Live it. Move from it. Let your life reflect it. Anyone who needs convincing is not ready to receive you, and anyone who's ready will never require a speech. So, if their message stirs something in you, let it be a reminder, not a reason to prove anything. Let it remind you of who you've become. And if they can't recognize that version of you without needing a whole explanation, that's not your failure. It's their limitation. Don't chase closure through explanations. Don't try to retroactively earn value in someone's eyes. If they couldn't hold it when they had it, their hands were never meant to carry it. Let your stillness be your statement. Let your detachment be your declaration. You don't need to defend your worth, you just need to keep standing in it. And when you do, you make it clear, I don't need to show you I've changed. I changed because I needed to. For me. And that alone is more powerful than any reply, any explanation, or any attempt to be understood. Now say it out loud and drop it in the comments as your power statement. I don't beg for closure. I become it. Number 7. The real test is how long you can hold your power. The first text may feel easy to resist. It's unexpected. It's brief. It could be seen as just a curiosity. But then comes the second one. Maybe you feel the temptation to respond because it's more direct. And then, just when you think you've resisted long enough, the third one comes. They drop the words you've been waiting for. I miss you. Maybe even an apology. The feeling of relief, of hope, can flood you in an instant. But let me stop you right there. This is the real test. This is where everything is on the line. You've done the work. You've spent days, weeks, months healing, strengthening, learning your worth. And now the moment has come to test your resolve. This text, this apology, it's not about them. It's about your power. It's about whether you will allow yourself to be pulled back into a story that you already closed. They want to see if time softened you. They want to see if the silence made you forget. They want to know if your healing was just a phase, or if it was permanent. This is the moment where you have to decide. Will you let them back in, or will you continue to protect your peace? Because here's a truth that will set you free. Forgiveness doesn't mean permission. You can forgive someone in your heart, release the bitterness, and move on. But that doesn't mean you owe them another chance. That doesn't mean you have to give them access to your life, your energy, or your growth. If you let them back in, you risk losing everything you've worked so hard to build. Epictetus wisely said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." You don't control who texts you. You don't control who comes back into your life. But you absolutely control what energy you allow into your space. You control what kind of people are allowed to have access to your peace. So when that third text comes, when the words you've waited for finally appear, pause, breathe, remind yourself that you've moved beyond this. You've learned the lessons. You've grown into a new version of yourself that deserves nothing less than what you've given to yourself. And if you let them back in, you're allowing your peace to be traded for something you've already let go of. Don't make that mistake. Don't let your healing be a temporary high. Don't let their words, their emotions, undo everything you've fought for. You have power over how you respond. You have power over who stays in your life. And when you choose your peace, you honor the person you've become. When you don't respond to the third text, the fourth one, or any of the ones that come after, you demonstrate to the world, and more importantly, to yourself, that you are the keeper of your own emotional kingdom. Let's be clear, their message might have meaning, or it might be a test. But your response? That's where the real power lies. Don't rush. Don't fall. Don't reply just because the silence got lonely. You are not who you were when they left. You're stronger, wiser, sharper. You've felt the pain of losing them, but now they get to feel the weight of losing you. If their message carries sincerity, it will show over time. Not in one line, but in consistent actions. Until then, stay calm, stay grounded, stay powerful. Comment below this affirmation if you're ready to protect your peace. I will not let a text undo my healing. And if this video spoke to your soul, if you've felt that moment, the message, the rush, the fear, the hope, I want you to know you're not alone. Your clarity, your peace, your silence. It's not weakness. It's wisdom. If you found value in this, subscribe right now and turn on notifications, because we're here to build strength, protect peace, and never go back to who we were, just to comfort someone who couldn't handle our growth. This isn't just healing, it's leveling up. Your story is not over. It's just beginning.